welcome to episode 5 of Go the Mission. We out here broadcasting from St. Joseph, Michigan once again. I am your host, Corey Johnson. Missions is my passion, and I'm thankful for another opportunity to educate, enlighten, and encourage those interested in missions. If this is your first time listening, or even if it's not, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share this with somebody. Just search for Go the Mission on just about any podcast provider like Spotify, Apple, Google, and many more. You can also find the show on YouTube. Now, my guest today is actually a former student of mine, and we had a lot of really good experiences at Palau Mission Academy over there in Palau. But I'm going to give him a moment to introduce himself and tell you a little bit about himself.
So for me, hi guys, my name is Reece Reklai. It's funny because I met Corey Johnson as a freshman in Palau Mission Academy. I did not think I was going to what you call this, a Seventh-day Adventist school, because I was formerly from a Catholic background, so it was kind of weird coming from that. But whatever the reason is, now I'm here. So like my current situation now, I'm still a freshman in college. I'm about to finish it, although this coronavirus is not the best ideal situation. It is what it is.
It is what it is.
Yeah, that's just how it is, and that's where I'm at right now.
All right. Thank you for joining me on the show, Reece. I know it took a little bit of a push, but you know.
No, you're good.
We got to get your story out there, man. So I got a question. Go ahead.
I just need to get away from studies at times. I become crazy.
That's what's up, man. We definitely got you. So I want to start by asking you this question. It's kind of my intro question for everyone who comes on, and you're actually the first non-missionary. You're the first student.
Okay.
That I've interviewed. So I really want to see I'm really curious about your response to this question.
Okay.
What does mission and service mean to you?
Oh, okay. That's actually a deep question to ask. So for me, when I think about service and mission, my perspective on it is more like, have you doing something that you don't want to do by any means necessary, but you just feel like it's the right thing to do and you go for it. And it's not just like, missionary can really be as small as going to someone's house to as far as going from one speck of the globe to the other.
Wow.
So when I think of missionary in service, it's more like I do something I don't want to do it. And in this case, I'm doing something that I cannot believe in, or I have a hard time believing in, which is in God. So when I put both of them together, I think of it in this way. So mission is going out to do something that God have plans for you that you yourself have no idea, and you're just doing it because you feel like it's your calling, not so much what the outcome or even a path to take. It's just so much, okay, maybe this is for me. Maybe I should go out there and try to do something for others.
That's pretty myself. Cool. I like that. Because you're bringing up something that I haven't heard anyone that I've interviewed mention before. And it's this idea of, it may not be something that you want to do. And oftentimes it may very well be the exact thing that you don't want to do. But it's bigger than just...
It's bigger than yourself.
Exactly. It's bigger than yourself, and you're just responding to a calling that you understand to be bigger than you. That's awesome, man. So I have to ask you, and just to give you listeners a bit of context, our schools in Palau, both the elementary and the high school, the teachers, the majority of the teachers are missionaries. So a lot of the schools out in Micronesian islands and in other parts of the world are heavily dependent on missionaries to be able to run. Yep. But where that ends up getting interesting is with the students and the interaction there. Because we're used to, back here in America, we're pretty used to, you have one teacher who teaches the same grade for 15, 20 years. There's a lot of consistency. There's a lot of, you can have expectation, no problem, because it's the same person who's there. These students, they change grades and they change teachers. And it's very rare that they get to see the same teacher in the same school for more than 1 year. So you could literally have a student who starts in kindergarten in our school system there, and they graduate from 12th grade in high school, and they may have had different groups of teachers every single year that they were in school, which is absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
So with that being said,
that's true.
Reece, he's had, because you came to our school system When did you start with our school system?
2015.
All right, you came in as a freshman there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, and Reece was part of the freshman class when I returned to Palau. So we ended up coming there together, and we ended up graduating there together too. We left at the same time. But the reason I bring all of that up is to say, even just in 4 years of high school, Reece probably had 15 different new teachers every year that he was there.
And it's also teachers that like come and go, and there are teachers who also come in the between the year, during the year. Like it's not just like, oh, they come the beginning, and there's people who come in and out between the year, even before it ends. Like
that's a great point.
It's a lot.
There's so many moving parts going on. I'm glad you brought that up. So I have to ask you, what has been your experience with missionaries?
Okay, so I'm a biased type of person, because usually if you were to ask my class entirely, I most likely go against what they usually say. Because even if, like, let's say we hate on a teacher or it's an out view from my class, I'm usually the quiet opposite, even though I get frustrated, or maybe I say things that I didn't want to say out of frustration, but that doesn't necessarily define that, oh, I'm with the class on like, oh, I don't like this person. Even the people that we know, like my sophomore year, like people who it's not the best relationship with, but for me, I didn't mind. It's more like me just adjusting to the situation, just enjoying what they have to offer, because everyone has a different saying, everyone comes from a different background, and also they teach differently, and they may not be the best teaching also, but it's unique to itself because it's not the same teacher. You don't see the same formula you see from freshman year through senior year.
Good point, and I'm glad, man. This is great, man. I love this already, and I'm so excited to see not only everything else that you're gonna say, but I do have some more of your classmates that I'll be interviewing soon. So I'm really
that's exciting.
Yeah, man. I want to see what they have to say. So it sounds like there were a lot of good moments and maybe not the greatest of moments, but within all of that, your mentality is, what's the best that I can find out of this situation? Yeah,
because at the end of the day, if they never showed up, where's my education? Why am I gonna... I cannot throw this person into the pit of fire and expect me to learn on my own, and that I may not even have the motivation to, because these people have to teach you, and they're trying, whether they like it or not, because some teachers may not like Palau in general, or mission work in general, but they're trying. So the fact that they're trying is just like, okay, I have to give them a chance, a window to at least work with.
Wow.
Because if there's nothing to work with, that's when them being a missionary means no point at that point. Because like, who are they reaching if they're not gonna be able to get through anyone, or at least one person?
Right.
They at least need that one person to be that. It doesn't have to be me. Like, there are people who have strong relationship with certain teachers that I am not the same with that teacher. So, but point is, they just need that at least one person to give them that reason to stay and teach and do the best they can. Whether it's from the beginning of the year towards the end, it doesn't matter. At least once they find that moment, that's when a lot of things happen. It's really a blessing to see and also to experience.
All right, I like to hear that. So this, according to your definition of mission and service, do you think that the missionaries over your time at PMA, that they met your definition of it?
I met teachers who didn't have a clear scope in mind. They need to find something for themselves, and also teachers who already knew what they wanted and what they wanted to share. So with my definition of mission service, the way I view it was like, whether it's the people who have an idea of what they want to do or don't, one thing still stands, is that the fact that they came to a place that they weren't aware of, and the fact that they were willing to share their life story. So we, like in PMA, there's always that prayer of the week, or I don't know how you call it, weekly.
The week of prayer.
Yeah, week of prayer, where they like share their testimonies, and also, you know, at the side where you hang out with a certain teacher and you get to know their life stories. I feel like that's the mission and service for me, is that they're sharing their life stories. It's also an added bonus or a blessing to know that they wanna give service and glory to God and show His word. But the fact that I can see their life story and see where were they and how they end up here, situations, even unbelievable circumstances that God came through was like mind blowing to me, because I mean, it's expensive just to even come all the way to the island. It's not. It's not literally a walk next door. So when I see service and missionary, I just see them giving their life story to me and doing service in a way that they never wanted to, but they were put in that situation to do so. And yet sometimes I also feel it's very genuine, their service, which I appreciate, because service to me is more like genuine work rather than
just doing it to do it.
Yeah, doing it, or even hard work. Like, they can, even if they're not motivated and they just do little work, but if it's genuine, I feel like that's all we need. Because there's a difference between someone who's being fake and trying to give you the best education than someone who has the least motivation but at least tried to do something right for this X amount of time. That's why,
so true.
That's what I like about service and missionary. It's genuine work in a place that you don't want to be at, whether it's personal or for any other reason. You're still there.
And it sounds like, I guess what I'm getting from that is, missionaries may not even realize the way that they're being effective. A lot of times people may say, well, because I don't want to go to a certain place, there's no way that I can be effective. But what you're telling me is that there are times when the people who are maybe showing that they don't want to be there, they still have those moments when they're having missionary experience and where people are relating to what they're doing, whether they realize it or not, which is kind of a big deal, because when it comes to, this idea of who we are, it shouldn't be that people can tell who we are when we're doing certain things. It should be something that surrounds us all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, not something that we just experience here in this situation, but if someone thinks this about me, hopefully that's the same thing they think about me all the time. All right.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Because to me, it's like, you don't necessarily have a willingness to be there, but the fact that you went there is already a statement to me that you're already doing service in the fact that you're there. Because if you never showed up, I would never have an English teacher, or I will never have a PE teacher, or much less we wouldn't even have a school to begin with if they never showed up. So it's the fact that they're there is already a service to me, that they're there. And the missionary work comes when those type of moments where they genuinely want to actually help people, or just be there for people, like God and Jesus be there for the disciples.
That's so cool. I don't think that a lot of missionaries realize that them just showing up is such a big statement of mission and service to the people that they go to serve. And I think that's a good point, such a good point there, because a lot of times people go in with the mentality of, if I'm not doing this certain thing, then I'm not being a missionary. And if I'm not accomplishing things that I want to while I'm there, if I'm struggling in my mission experience, then I'm not being a good missionary. But the reality is, based on what you're saying here, and I agree with that, there's a big statement being made from people who are willing just to come and to be in a situation like that says a big thing about service and mission. So I want to ask you, what are some of your favorite experiences that you had with missionaries? Something that they did that you really appreciated. Okay,
so first of all, I met a couple. There were missionaries that there's a lot of different missionaries that I met, but there were missionaries that hit me in a different way in two aspects. The first aspect was just simply the fact that they love God. Like, I met missionaries who genuinely want to give the message of God out there. So through these people, I ask them and see where they are and want to know what they do, what they come from college, or what their current situation is. But regardless to say, they just give glory to God, straight up. So for me personally, I was just trying to find, wait, so why are you giving glory to someone who I have not exactly met or just heard of and just brushed off around my shoulder, and you're just telling me consistently on a daily basis that it's not me who's here, it's God who's speaking through me or working through me. And I'm just thinking about that in my type of life, where did I have a moment where it was such an impossible circumstance, yet I was somehow able to come through with it. And then I thought back to my life and I was like, but there was. So for me, I struggled. I had personal struggles or things that I wasn't proud of that I did. But in those situations, I realized that, oh, if this person showed up, oh, if this had happened, maybe I would have not been alive today, or I would have not impacted some people that I've met, or anything. When I think about like what God has done for me in the smallest of things, maybe saving my life in my car accident I had, or something more, I didn't really think about the situation. All I thought was I was alive. But when I look in detail, like, man, how did I even survive that crash? That was a big crash. Or, oh man, this situation was that bad. Like, I didn't really think about it. So I met those people who made me think about God, like, oh, he helped me get through these things that I don't realize until I think about it, like, I wouldn't be here today, or I would have not met certain people.
Wow.
And then another aspect of it was, instead of like putting God aside, not that we don't want to put him aside, but just putting him aside, is there's also like regular sports or something that they're really good at, like let's say passion in drawing, passion in basketball, whatever it may be. So I had missionaries where I ball up with, play basketball with, and when I grew up with them, I learned in another aspect of, like, you know, them just being them in the sport they love. How did they get there? Where they get better? What did they do to sacrifice themselves to get to where they are at this point in their life? So for me, I appreciate learning what their habits and their passions are, and in those passions, I learned something to get out of it for my life. Like I learned, oh, if he could do this in basketball, maybe I can do this.
Wow.
Same thing with like studying or doing or drawing. Like drawing, like I don't draw, but when I tried and then I look at what they did, I was like, you can't. And they showed me like pictures from then and now, and I'm like, you draw that and now you're drawing like this. This shows to me, oh, things do build over time. Things do work over time. Maybe it takes time, but it works. It gets refined. It gets better. It gets to the point where you get to experience the whole picture in such a good, refined manner. And I'm just like, well, that's cool to me personally.
That's awesome. And I think, you know, there's definitely the aspect, as you mentioned, where for you, missionaries kind of made God real. And I think that's so cool because you went to a different elementary school, and that may not have necessarily been your experience there. But what happened when you engaged with these missionaries here at Palau Mission Academy was that you began to see how real God was. And then because of how they interacted with you on other like non-spiritual levels, you're able to see how you can progress with different other activities in your life too. That's really cool. That's really cool.
I think what also stood out for me regarding the background that I came from in my elementary school is that what's one thing that really got my attention just in PMA was there was a Bible class, and I was just like, I looked at it, I was like, why is this even a subject? I remember coming freshman year, sleeping every day in class.
Hey, I remember that too.
As long as you shot me with a Nerf gun, but as long as I get my work done and pass the class, I will sleep. That's all I cared about. But eventually, Bible class became my favorite class of the day and became the class I look forward to every time I wake up. That's how it changed big for me, although I'm the one who's getting shot by a Nerf gun or something else with my classmate.
Let me tell you guys, like, I used to have the hardest time keeping Reece awake during Bible class freshman year. I couldn't believe how, like, whether it was the first class of the day or whether it was right before lunch, man, he would come right in, put the towel on the desk, lay on the side, and it'd be a wrap. It'd be a wrap.
Yeah, because like it's so perfect the situation for me because I'm walking in there not caring about the subject, and the first thing you said was, if you do your work, then I won't bother you. And first thing I said, and that means does that apply to anything? And then the way you approached it, I was like, so if I finish my work, I don't have to care about whatever's going on in class, right? And then once that clarification came through for me, I'm like, done. I want to do my work and go to sleep. Do my work, go to sleep. Before class, after class, I'll do my work and then go to sleep.
And you know what the funny thing is that Reece always had good grades in my class. And I think I think I taught you Bible. Well, let's see. I taught you Bible freshman year. Did I teach?
Senior year.
And senior, but not junior. That's right. Not junior and not sophomore.
Yeah.
And even though his grades were the same
when
I taught him in
maybe
freshman.
junior year.
Maybe it was.
Daniel.
Yes. That's right.
So senior year was Revelation. I love this topic. I saw my classes that I have to take, and they said I cannot take those classes like Daniel and Revelation. I got angry. They're like,
really?
This is high level class. Yeah, because they said it's a high level religion class. I'm like, give it to me. I'll pass that class. Like, give it to me.
My man, that's what I'm talking
Sorry,
about.
it's too hard for you.
Nah, man.
Come on. I at least know what I'm talking about. So give it to me. But they're like, no, you're freshman. I'm like, fine, give it.
Nah, you can do it. You can do it, man.
I'll do it my senior year. But like right now, I'm just like, I can't do it.
Oh man, but check this out. Like, it's so cool because even though the grades were the same over the course of me teaching him Bible, I could see his mentality change, and I could see how he was growing and how he was enjoying the stuff more, asking more questions, being so much more engaged, and it led somewhere. It actually led somewhere by the time his high school experience ended. We'll get there. We'll get to that though.
Yeah.
So, a lot of great and positive experiences for sure, but without mentioning any names, we don't want to put anybody on blast here. What's something that a missionary did, or a moment that you had with a missionary, or even something you saw someone else go through with a missionary, that really made you? It's something they did that you just hated, or something that you ended up losing respect for them for.
See, okay, now I bet if you ask my other classmates, it's gonna be a completely story. Because for me, it's grades. It's weird. In all of my experience, the only time I'll probably have a really, really negative experience is once I see my grade tumble. And once I see it shake, that's when my nerve gets hit.
Okay.
So when it was like, it was my senior year, and maybe first part of my sophomore, or maybe in my second half of my sophomore year, I saw my grade dropped, and I was like, wait, what's going on? And then I studied for it, or whatever I did for it, and then every time I take the quiz, take the test, take the classwork, whatever it may be, and my grade just plummets or not reach my expectation, I get frustrated at the teacher for either if I'm not screwing up, their teaching is a problem. I didn't lose respect for them, but I guess that's the only thing that I'll probably complain about, because that's just me.
Okay.
My low, I guess, would probably be me getting like an F, a D, or C grade, and I'm just like, look at myself like, man, this teaching is there's a plot hole in it, or I'm not thinking straight. But either way, I'm not happy with this experience, and then I get angry at them. I sadly talk behind their back. I get frustrated at them. I blast them to my classmates. Like I make them my number one enemy at that time once I see my grade plummet. Like that's just me. I don't have any. Well, I have moments outside of school, but to me it just okay that happened, but I don't really care, or like I'll brush it off because it's not as big of a deal.
Gotcha.
That's just me.
It's not impacting
people will probably bring that up later down the line regarding like the podcast if you talk to my classmates. But for me, it's just I just didn't really get affected by those, like outside of school or what they did. Even if they were disrespectful, like it didn't really bother me. It's just more like that's them. They're not perfect. I'm not perfect. Who am I to judge them about their actions? So that's just me.
Okay, that's
it's weird.
Cool. And I respect that. And
it's weird though.
I have to tell you guys too, when it comes to Reece, he's very focused, and he's very like, if you think of people who are very singular of mind, like they have a goal and that's what they go to do, and they don't get distracted from it, that's who Reece is. So I can totally understand where he's coming from when he says, yeah, these things might not have happened, but if it didn't affect my bottom line of where I was trying to go, which would have been the grades, then it didn't really matter. So that's pretty cool. And of course, it'll be, I know some of it'll be a little bit different with some of the classmates, but we'll see. We'll see how that goes with them.
Yeah.
So
sure.
I want to ask you, like, what do you think, if you had to pick maybe one or two of the things that you learned, the best things that you learned from Missionaries, what would you say those were?
Two things that Missionaries did for me that was profound. Is that what
like the most important thing that you think you learned from Missionaries.
Oh, okay. Actually, I'll say that, okay. For my first point is God saved lives. And then I'll expand on that point.
Okay.
And then the second point is, even the flaws that I see in a missionary, that's when God comes in the most. And it's crazy that their weakness became their blessing.
Wow.
Instead of their strength becoming the reason why you would assume that your strength is the reason why you would change lives. But that wasn't the point for me that I saw within the missionaries. So first part I said was God saved lives. So when I said God saved lives, I'll expand on that point. So when I talked about God saving lives, I'll put it in my aspect for me, because I'll go with things that are tangible and things that are spiritual. So for tangible things, I had a car crash twice in my life, I think, or yeah, twice. When I was a kid, you did not know this, but I have a scar in the middle of my head, or you probably seen it. That happened because an oyster cut through my skull. So that's the third one. And then the fourth one was when I was playing basketball with my Team Palau teammates. And just in general, like playing basketball, and then I had the game, I think not with my Team Palau teammates, but with like my own team. There were times that I like hit the ground hard, or like those things that may not seem, crazy, like I get hurt. But point is, the tangible part is, so within my car crashes, when I really look in detail about them, and then I saw, like, first of all, if I got hit by a car in a certain angle, I could have went off the cliff. And going off a cliff is not a good thing.
Oh no.
Considering the area we are in. So that was the first one. And the second one was I had a car crash going down a road, and then the car turned. That car could have flipped. The car could have done anything else other than just happen the way it did. And when I thought about that, I was like, there's so many variables for me to think about. But the fact that they didn't go to that, they didn't even end up that way, is the first meaning why I'm alive today. And then the two other aspects where I just mentioned earlier was regarding like injuries or things that could have happened to me. So basketball, people know me, I'm always the person somehow on the floor or whatever. Yeah, like I didn't get hurt because I probably had protective gear, or I make sure I land a certain way. But people do know basketball is also a sport that's dangerous. People seen we can look at the players who are very good and talented, which are the NBA players. We've seen them go through crazy injuries. We've seen legs twist. We've seen things like that happen. But here's the key. For them, they can afford to rehabilitate themselves and make sure they get back on their life because they have the money, because that's their job. For us, if that let's say I dislocate my leg, and not only dislocate, it twists. I may not have the financial means to even fix that to begin with, and even if I fix that, I don't even know if I have the money to rehabilitate myself to play basketball again. But the fact that I can still do that today, although I have suffered, like for me, my carelessness led me to have like weakened knees and stuff, but the fact that I can still play ball, the fact that I can still do that is already a big alarming exclamation point for me. And regarding to spiritual side, it's more like I couldn't care less for God. I was like, I have to follow rules, I have to do this, and at first when I heard Saturday was the day of God, I was like, Saturday, not Sunday? Okay, that's an interesting outlook. I didn't really care much for it. Like, I didn't really see it like, why should I care? I can just do what I want on that day, it's like a special day for me. It's a me thing. But when that happened, I had to think to myself, wait, this must mean something. I don't know what it means, but if people are getting something out of it, I should assume I can do too. So when for me in spiritual form, it's more like I understand I have my own limitations. I may not be able to do things that I feel like I could have done, just because I'm human. I'm not perfect. I cannot get my work done I cannot finish my whole schoolwork done in one day. Like, I can't do things that I'm not capable of doing just to begin with. It's hard to accept for me as a person that I know I have to do everything for myself. But once I realized that, and then I had days where I was like, I can't do this. I don't understand this word. I cannot turn this in by the next hour. Like, I can't. I don't know. Like, I panic. And when I panic, I just calm down and pray. And then next thing I know, an idea just comes up in my mind. I'm like, dude, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't do that? And then I just did it, finished my work, get it done. I got my grade. I saw it. I was like, bro, I didn't think this idea was gonna go good, but it was great. But point is, the things that I don't see is the reason why I'm able to do the things that I see on my daily basis. So for me on the spiritual side, is more like relying on someone higher than me to get my work done. I know it sounds lazy, but it goes both ways. In order for me to rely on someone higher than me, I also have to put in work.
Yes.
So when that happens, it works, and I'm just like, okay, thank goodness. That's
so cool.
This means something to me.
I love that, because a lot of people go through life feeling like they're alone and that they don't have anyone that they can rely on. And to me, that's one of the coolest things about God. Just like you said right there, is you don't have to be you don't have to think that it's just you out there. You have someone that you can count on. You have someone who can help you out and even bring crazy things to your memory to help you with things like homework. That he's that good. So if I had to ask you, well, I'm gonna ask you, and not if I had to. So I'm gonna ask you, what's your biggest growing experience with a missionary? Or maybe a better way to say it is, how do you see in your time of growth where a missionary contributed the most to your growth?
Straight up my junior year. So in my junior year, I met certain individuals, and literally it went so far that I got baptized into the religion because I believe for it to be true. But also they showed me aspects of life that I never considered, just because either I'm ignorant or I just never encountered, because every person's unique to himself. So the fact that I encountered like a perspective that I didn't really think about, and that was the turning point for me, maybe because their perspective was something that I probably needed to hear at that time. But these missionaries who influenced my life really changed literally X, Y, and Z of myself. Like, there came to a point where, I cannot say it in public, but it came to a point where I made decisions that may not seem great for me or in the eyes of certain individuals, but I just felt like I just had to make them. Or maybe food decisions, or even simple things like cursing, like those type of things. Like I noticed a change. Like, I try to avoid stuff. I try to avoid doing things. I try to not consider things. When it's I try to consider not doing anything other than service. Like, there are things I start to learn to consider, start to develop for myself, that if I never had done before, I don't think I would be the person I am today because of them.
That's so incredible, man. And it, again, guys, as you're listening, you got to put all of this in context. If I was to interview Reece about his experience from like as a child going all the way up, like his entire story, we'd be here like for so long. And who knows, maybe we'll get the chance to go into that in another episode or something like that. But you have to realize the experience that he had coming up to this moment where he makes a decision to come to Palau Mission Academy. And he comes in with zero interest for God, even having previously gone to a religious school. He comes into PMA with no preference for God, no care about that whatsoever. And then within a few years of his experience with missionaries and with God, as these things continue to work on him, he sees the value of God and decides that he wants to be a part of this. Like that to me, it's so incredible. And Reece is the first one that I'm interviewing about his experience here, and hopefully in time I can get down to all the rest of the students who have stories like this and different stories that they want to share. But I want to emphasize that the reason I'm doing this is because I want to help you all that are listening to know that these places that missionaries say they go to, they're real. The people that are out there are real. They have real experiences, and what you do, it's not just deleting a year from your life here in the States and then going and doing something and you come back and that doesn't exist anymore. No, like when you go over there, when you go to serve, and even as Reece mentioned, when you go next door and you do some kind of service or mission for your neighbor, that's an intersection that diverts the path of their life in a way that you could never imagine. And even throughout the experiences, you know, Reece mentioned that his class may have struggled during their sophomore year. Those experiences are still experiences that helped Reece to get to the point where he is right now. So
Yeah.
it wasn't, you know, it's not that it was all good, and it's not that it's always going to be all good, but all of those experiences, the positives and the negatives, the not so great ones, they all help to get to this point. But it starts with people being willing to go out and to serve. It starts with people saying, you know what, this idea of mission, it's worth more than what I could do for myself. Let me put aside my preferences for a while and try to live for somebody else and see how God can do something in that situation. So I want to ask you a couple questions based kind of on that. If there were advice or encouragement, if there was advice or encouragement that you could have given to missionaries during your experience with them, what would you say?
Don't expect things to go the way you may think of it, or you expect students to follow. Because dynamics of where you live may not be the same dynamics of where we are. So you may not realize it, but you're coming to an environment where we may have the opposite ideals, practices, or even culture in general. So that's one thing I want you to point out there. Even if you go next door to your neighbor, they may have different set of rules that you gotta follow.
That's true.
You cannot just walk in and be like, oh, we're gonna pray, we're gonna give you a Bible study, and they're gonna be like, we don't even want you in the house, so
right,
you got a problem.
Or,
so that's
yep.
Yeah, so that's one. The second thing is, once you start being genuine about things, not everyone, not even if you're genuine or not genuine, or even if you're willing or not willing, you may not get the best reaction from an individual to individual basis, because regardless of whether you're genuine or not, people like from my class, for example, my class is very we're very opinion oriented. Like we strongly feel our own argument, and if we have to make it known, we'll tell you in your face. So what I'm trying to get at is that even though you may teach, you may do your form of service, and it's not going your way because the person just doesn't want to listen to you, that's just the way it is. But the fact that if you continue to do you is already the example they just need. The fact that you just be yourself is the example that they're looking for, because no one's gonna get away anything from your life until you lead from example. Because you can say you preach for God, but in reality you're sleeping in, doing the opposite of what you just said.
Okay. So you gonna preach for us now?
No, but it's the thing though, because like even me personally,
you're right.
If let's just say I like playing, I have my own struggles, and for example, I like playing games. So if I play this type of game and then you claim you're good at it, I expect, because I'm competitive, so I expect you as my partner or whether my enemy to either give me the competitive value that I want, or to come through in situations that I need you to come through, because I know I can do it for myself, but I need you to get me there too. So I want someone to walk the walk, but also, you know, even okay. And then there's also the opposite side where you tell me you're very good at the game, but in reality, let's say you're not the best. But even in that situation, you also got, I feel like another advice I give to the missionary is to be humble. Because you may come teaching us in service, like as a student, for us as students, and then you may put your ideals on us, or maybe, who knows, like let's say we like you for like 6 months straight because you're so good, and then maybe that one moment where you became a hypocrite, and then we judge you about it. In that moment, you don't have to. In that moment, I feel like you gotta realize that everyone's judging everyone. So you got to realize that we're just judging you based on one thing instead of 6 months of what you have done for us. So when that happens, don't be like it's God's fault. Don't be like it's all your fault. Just just step back and think about, okay, how can I pick myself up? Because you're a fool once you start sitting down and not getting back up and being who you set out yourself to be. So you gotta think of. So that's another thing I want you to think about is being humble. Do lead by example. Be aware of cultural differences. And I think the last point I just want to leave off advice to missionaries is that you're not perfect. You'll never will be, no matter how you want to be. So that means your plan in your head that you expect will 100% happen won't happen.
Yes.
I can guarantee you that. So
it's so true.
For the fourth part is just understand that you're human. I mean, it's simple as it is. Even I have to get reminded that. But if you understand that you're human, you'll know, okay, I will fall. I will screw up. I'll probably make a kid angry. Even this may sound as so bad that you may even cause a kid to get away from God. It can go that far. But you got to realize that kid that goes away from that far, God may not use you, but who knows, may use the person next to you to come through for him.
That's true.
So don't feel like you lost hope once you do something very devastating. Just feel like, how can I pick myself up and at least go forward with that? So those are the advices I just want to give for that part.
I like that. And that's great advice just for life too, because it's true. And I think we have to realize missionaries sometimes, I've seen it where some go out with the mentality of, I'm going to change this place and I'm going to make the biggest difference over here. But I can tell you, for the 5 years that I spent in Palau, I feel like I was changed more than anyone that I was a missionary for. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I definitely was not perfect. I definitely made mistakes. There are things that I could have done better. But learning to stay adaptable and to say, okay, if I did this and it didn't work, what can I do to make things work better next time? Those are the kinds of things that can help you in life and definitely will help you in the mission field for sure. So why do you think missionaries should take the time to go to serve?
Here, I'll use my life as an example. Right now, where I'm at, I'll tell you things that it's crazy. So first, I'm in America, as if you may not know that right now. And I came from an island. So first of all, we have to think about expenses to come all the way here. And then on top of that, I'm paying a college that is very expensive. I'm not to say it's easy. Who knows? You may not know. I may have get loans, or I may not. You may not know that. But point is that I'm also in an expensive school studying to do something that I want to do for my life. Third, not only that I'm in America and I'm studying college, I am still in contact with the missionaries today. So you gotta also, so that's another thing to consider. And then fourth, to realize why a missionary should serve is, if you serve, even if you feel like you never made an impact, you did left the mark where you were. Whether people know you for good or for worse, people will know you, and you wouldn't know that even if it's the worst moment, worst time you feel like in your life, it could have been a lesson for someone at that time, at that moment. Because right now, I didn't say what college I was in, but I'm in Walla Walla University, a Seventh-day Adventist school.
How about that?
So not only I got baptized, I went to a Seventh-day Adventist school, and ironically enough, the people that I met my junior year, freshman year, sophomore year, even senior year, they are either my peers in college, aspiring to study for what they want, and I see them on a daily basis. I talk to them. They are my friends now instead of just being my upperclassmen or teachers or whatever it may be from high school. Cool. So the fact that I'm seeing these people right now are another testimony. Like, you wouldn't know if the student that you have impacted came to the same school that you go to. Although the underlying thing is you may not see them every day because they're working, they're doing their own life, they have their own friends. But at the end of the day, they'll probably call you when they need you the most. They'll probably hang out with you. Or the missionaries, for me, the missionaries here are helping me a bunch. They're going out to have me have some food with them. I went bowling for my first time. they get to show me around the place I'm currently in, and like it's so many things that because I met a missionary, this happened. I would have not gone to this exact college. I would have not known the people I've known today that were my missionaries when I was in Palau.
Wow.
And I would have not have the experience with them, and also with others, because I'm meeting new people every day, in the college that I'm currently in. So it seems underwhelming to you that you go for 1 year, but maybe if you look at the big picture of some people, it changed their entire course of their life.
Wow.
Because I would have not come to this school if I wasn't at Seventh Day or anything. Because to be fair, this school is expensive. I'm not gonna lie, like this is freaking expensive. 40 grand a year? Are you kidding me? Like, it's outrageous as it sounds, but the fact that they made me have that commitment to just like, you know what, God is pointing this direction. I didn't know how I was gonna pay for this school. If you ask me today whether I know I'll pay next year, I still don't know. Like, I'm not confident in whatsoever how I'm gonna do it. But I'll tell you this: God came through, because from traveling, from money all the way to college, from money to paying college and surviving every day.
Yes.
I don't even know how I got that money. All I can just say is someone higher than me set that up for me, and that's what's going on right now. That's all I know.
It, man.
That's all I know. So I feel like the bottom line for you to serve is you make a change, even if you feel like even if you feel like you're not making the biggest change. The fact that the word changes in it is already should be an indicator that if you serve, you can either save lives or even do the littlest of things of changing a small tweaking a course of their life that you may not know have been important for them at that time.
So I think it's clear you think missionaries really make a difference, huh?
Yeah, because I mean, I'm in a college where I'm not supposed to be at. If you were to ask me, when I was like elementary year, like my 8th grade year, if you asked me that question, I would probably laugh at myself right now, being like, so I end up going to a college that's not a very prestige college. I did not end up going to a school that made me study the craziest of stuff. But the fact that I'm here is already should be a moment of thought for you, saying, oh, this happened, so now I have to move forward from where I'm at, because my life just changed. It's not
incredible things are
it's
possible.
not funny. Like my life changed. Like I cannot say anything better than that. If my life didn't change, this wouldn't have happened. I would have not been where I'm at right now. If anything, I'll probably be in another school with another group of friends, with another group of teachers. It's completely different dynamic, is what I'm getting at.
That's awesome, man. Hey, I love hearing of your experience, and even again hearing about it again after such a while, since we've been in Palau, of course.
Yeah.
And I definitely want to thank you for being willing to share. And I know it's going to be a great encouragement to everyone who's out there listening to this podcast. So thank you again, Reece. Thanks for being a part of the problem. Show. And I want to thank you all. Huh?
If you need me, just let me know.
Hey, we're going to do it again. Round 2 is going to come up soon.
Yeah, for sure.
So I want to thank you all for taking the time to listen to this episode of Go, the Mission. Once again, this is your host, Corey Johnson. And I want to remind you that every other weekend, a new pod will drop. And on whatever platform you're tuning in on, like, subscribe, and share so we can get the mission out there. And if you have any questions about missions, or you're wondering how to be a missionary, let me know. And you can reach me by email using gothemission@gmail.com, or feel free to drop a comment or a message through social media or YouTube. And finally, remember, to exist is not enough. We out here to be out here. Until next time, peace.